Buenos dias. I understand we're going to be singing Spanish today, so I wanted to warm you up with a little buenos dias, but that's all I know, so we're good to go. Welcome. My name is Nancy McDowell. I'm a member of the Board of Trustees here at MLUC. Welcome, welcome to you here in this space, to those of you who are new or just coming back after a hiatus, and thanks for all of you connecting online. We all need each other in this time, in this world, even if it's an hour earlier than we wanted. Let me introduce our worship team today, Reverend John Morehouse, our senior minister. The choir is now so big that, whew, it's great. Dawn Star Saris Borchelt, Director of Learning and Family Ministries, to lead our time of all ages. Our worship associate is Deborah McKnight. And our music this morning, as you can see, is the MLUC choir, led by David Brown, our music director. One important announcement. The Family Promise team needs your help. A congregation that had planned to house the needy families has dropped out due to an emergency. So MLUC said we would step in, and it's next week. So what does that mean we need? We need you to stop by the Family Promise table, there's a big sign, and sign up after the service. We need help with setup, dinners, and overnight security. Now please silence your electronic devices and join me in reciting our mission statement. Together, we transform lives through love, service, and our welcoming faith.
Good morning. Our chalice lighting today is Persist in Faith by Pat Uribe-Lichty. We face a challenge to democracy, a challenge that calls us to hope in moments of despair, a challenge that asks us to persist in the faith that we can and must make a difference. May our flaming chalice commit us to truth in our words and our actions, that we may live as we believe people should live. Would you now please rise in body or spirit and join in singing hymn number 305, De Colores.
Now we will focus on tigers. Okay. Once upon a time, there was a merchant carrying his pack of spices along a mountain path when he came across a tiger at the bottom of a pit. Help me, please. It was the most beautiful tiger he had ever seen. The tiger begged for help. The merchant thought it was wrong to trap something so bright and beautiful, so he agreed to help the tiger escape. Do you think that was a good idea? He found a fallen tree and dragged it over to the pit, dropping it so it made a kind of ramp leading out of the pit. The tiger climbed up the tree trunk. He flipped his stripy tail and smiled. The merchant smiled too. He was happy to have done a good deed. Then suddenly the tiger pounced on the merchant and said he was going to eat him. The merchant said that wasn't fair, that good deeds should follow good deeds, not bad deeds follow good deeds. They decided to have someone else judge whether the tiger could eat the merchant or not, which is a very restrained tiger, if you ask me. They asked an ox. He said, "Life's not fair. In my life, good deeds are not followed by good deeds. I have worked for many years, and when I'm too old to work, my owner will send me to the butcher. Then I will be killed and eaten. All my good work will be followed by a bad end. So bad can follow good. Tigers can eat their rescuers." "Wait," said the merchant, "that was only one animal. We have to ask someone else." We could ask the pine tree. So they did. The tiger's very hungry. I mean, it would be if it'd been sitting in a pit. The pine tree listened to their stories, and the pine tree said, "In my life, good has always followed good. I let the birds make nests and bring up their baby birds in my branches, and then the birds carry the seeds from my cones for miles, so that my baby trees grow all over these mountains. The more good I do for the birds, the more good they do for me. So life can be fair, and tigers should not eat their rescuers." The tiger and the merchant looked at each other. They decided they needed one more judge to decide the problem. The next animal to come along was a hare, and both the merchant and the tiger tried to tell the hare their stories at the same time. The hare couldn't figure out what they were saying, and she said they should just show her rather than telling her. So the tiger climbed off the merchant and jumped back into the pit. The hare asked if the branch was in the pit when they met, and since it wasn't, they took the branch out again. I like the way the hare thinks. Now the tiger was back in the pit with no way out. The hare said, "You should just leave the tiger in the pit," and hopped away. The merchant picked up his pack of spices and walked away from the pit. I wonder how you know who to trust. I wonder how you treat people who have helped you. I wonder how you think we should decide when people don't agree. Children and youth are invited to their classes in the atrium.
Each month, we donate half of our collection to a worthy organization in need. The recipient of MLUC's offering outreach for March is the Darby Creek Valley Association. The DCVA has been hard at work for 40 years, caring for the Darby Creek watershed, leading efforts to restore and protect vital ecosystems through stream cleanups, invasive species removal, and tree planting events. Their work improves water quality, stabilizes stream banks, and improves wildlife habitats, at the same time providing greener, more vibrant space for recreation and education. In a recent project, volunteers planted 170 trees and shrubs at Moores Lake Park, part of a statewide Pennsylvania effort to plant 10 million trees by the end of this year. The DCVA also has an active program in community education and engagement, including school programs and community events. To make a cashless donation, whether watching remotely or from here in the sanctuary, please follow the instructions on the screen or on the back of the order of service. The offering will now be gratefully received. Will the ushers please come forward? At this time in the service, it is our custom to share personal joys and sorrows, expecting to be heard, accepted, and supported. As a community, we acknowledge each joy or sorrow by lighting a candle and saying together, "We hold you in our hearts." Sarah Kokos would like to light a candle of gratitude to Rick McKnight for the amazing experience of Art a la carte, with thanks to Rick, TAG, and everyone who helped and participated, not only for the huge amount of money raised, but also for the overwhelming amount of love and support she felt. For Sarah, Rick, TAG members, and everyone who participated, we hold you in our hearts. Susan Norris lights a candle of sorrow to commemorate the death of Leslie Davis Shepard, who passed away March 7th. Susan says that Les is her big brother, and she will miss him very much. For Susan, Les, and their families, we hold you in our hearts. And let us light one more candle for those of us with joys or sorrows too deep to say out loud at this time. We hold you in our hearts. Today's reading is A Brave and Startling Truth by Maya Angelou. When we come to it, we, this people, on this minuscule globe, who reach daily for the bomb, the blade, and the dagger, yet who petition the dark for tokens of peace. We, this people, on this small and drifting planet, whose hands can strike with such abandon that in a twinkling, life is sapped from the living. Yet those same hands can touch with such healing, irresistible tenderness, that the haughty neck is happy to bow and the proud back is glad to bend. Out of such chaos, out of such contradiction, we learn that we are neither devils nor divines. When we come to it, we, this people, on this wayward, floating body, created on this earth, of this earth, have the power to fashion for this earth a climate where every man and every woman can live freely without sanctimonious piety, without crippling fear. When we come to it, we must confess that we are the possible. We are the miraculous, the true wonder of this world. That is when, and only when, we come to it. Please join me now for a moment of silent reflection.
Prophecy, O my people, prophecy one more time. Let your voice be the echo of the outcries of all oppressed. Prophecy, O my people, prophecy one more time. Announce to them the coming of a new society.
Thank you to the choir. That was absolutely beautiful. And good morning, everyone. You of great faith who got up an hour earlier to show up, which would explain some of the empty seats that we have in the sanctuary this morning. We don't really do guilt here, but I'll just leave that at that. The great African-American poet Langston Hughes. Let America be America again. Let it be a dream it used to be. Let it be the pioneer on the plain, seeking a home where he himself is free. America never was America to me. Let America be the dream the dreamers dreamed. Let it be that great strong land of love where never kings connive or tyrants scheme. Let anyone be crushed from above. It never was America to me. Oh, let my land be a land where liberty is crowned with no false patriotic wreath, but opportunity is real and life is free. Equality is in the air we breathe. There's never been equality for me, nor freedom in this homeland of the free. Say, who are you that mumbles in the dark, and who are you that draws your veil across the stars? I am the poor white fooled and pushed apart. I am the Negro bearing slavery's scars. I'm the red man driven from the land. I'm the immigrant clutching the hope I seek and finding only the same old stupid plan. Of dog eat dog, of mighty crush the weak. I'm a young man, I'm full of strength, tangled in an ageless, endless chain. I'm the man who never got ahead, the poorest worker battered through the years. Yes, I'm the one who dreamt the basic dream in the old world while still a serf of kings, who dreamt a dream so strong, so brave, so true, that even its mighty daring sings in every brick and stone, in every furrow turned, that made America the land it has become. Oh, I am the one who sailed those early seas in search of what it meant to be my home, for I'm the one who left dark Ireland's shores and Poland's plain and England's grassy lea. And torn from black Africa's strand I came to build a homeland of the free. The free? Who said the free? Not me. Surely not me. The millions who are on relief today, the millions that are shot down when we strike, the millions who have nothing for our pay, for all the dreams we dream, for all the songs we've sung, for all the hopes we've held and the flags we've hung. The millions who have nothing for our pay except the dream that's almost dead today. Oh, let America be America again, the land that never has been yet, and the yet must be the land where everyone is free. Who made America? Whose sweat and blood, whose faith and pain, whose hand at the foundry and the plow in the rain. Must bring back our mighty dream again. Sure, call me ugly names if you choose. The steel of freedom does not stain. For those who live like leeches on other people's lives, we must take back our land again. America. Oh yes, I say it plain, America never was America to me, and yet I swear this oath, America will be. Out of the rack and ruin of a gangster's death, the rape, the rot of graft, the stealth, the lies, we the people must redeem. The land, the mines, the plants, the rivers, the mountains, and the endless plain, and all the stretch of those great green states that make America again. I begin with that poem by Langston Hughes, which was written in 1935. 1935. And those words are still true today, perhaps even more so, while we wait for the gangster's death. We remind ourselves of the greater trust that we placed in this nation that has yet to become. Make America great again. Really? When was it great for Africans who made the wealth of this country enslaved and were brought up on the lies of freedom? And when was it great for the Indians who were systematically exterminated? And when has it been great for the chronic poor who watch as the divide between the bottom and the top widens? And when has it been great for women who suffer from patriarchy and now lack the autonomy over their own bodies? Make America great again. For me, it's not only insulting to hear the phrase, it's the height of an immoral hubris to not remember and renew our trust in the faith of America for all people. We, the immigrants who all have come to these shores, I speak to you today not out of the political realities of our current society, but now rather, more basically, the moral reckoning that we're called to witness as you use. I speak today not as a minister who is tainting this pulpit with politics, but rather as your minister, an American, a UU, spiritual leader of you, my people. This idea of America being America again seems so far away now, right? But here we are, a people of values with love at the center of all we do, and here we are now wondering, how can America be? How can we become the country that we were promised to be? And how can we as a people still have faith in a democracy? My grandfather, Edward Morehouse, warned me of this polarization 50 years ago when I was just a little kid. Born to a Unitarian minister, my great-grandfather, the Reverend Daniel Webster, by the way. Raised by my grandmother, feisty Southern woman, my grandfather had made a name for himself as an economist, working on the labor movement as it was just being formed in the 1920s. He lived in rural Wisconsin, later to be the home of Joe McCarthy. Say it ain't so, Joe. The heartland, where even now there is a battle brewing for the soul of America. And he would speak of the Great Depression in which he served, and he would talk about the rise of the KKK, the Ku Klux Klan. There are two great rises of the KKK, maybe three. After Reconstruction, and when the federal government abandoned the southern states, and the Ku Klux Klan came to restore the racial order of white supremacist culture. And the second rise in the 1920s, feeding out of fear that immigrants were taking white jobs as the rich got richer and the poor got poorer. Do you see a pattern here, friends? We're living it again. And Woodrow Wilson, who had led us through the Great War and haltingly supported women's suffrage, was an avowed racist. And it was in that specter that the KKK reemerged in this boom of wealth for the rich. They said the country had lost its way, not because the rich were getting rich, but because the poor and the immigrants were here on our shores. And so powerful was the Klan, and you can find pictures of this online, that they marched down Pennsylvania Avenue in full regalia for hours. And the dark times continued. In the first Red Scares, it's known, Wilson's Attorney General Mitchell Palmer led an opportunity, as he saw it, to weed out those who were not friendly to the president. Does that sound familiar? And it would take the crisis of the Great Depression and the World War before we found our way slowly, haltingly back to hope again. And that's why when FDR said we have nothing to fear but fear itself, that's where that comes from. Because it was the fear that silenced so many Americans. As we see happening today, not only in corporate America, but now on the campuses of our great universities. And my father, my grandfather's son, who spent his life fighting the excesses of corporate power, would be rising from his ashes indignant that this is where we are. So I've been thinking a lot about this. It's been troubling me greatly. I feel on my worst days that we are in the midst of a moral abandonment. And I'm finding it hard, to be honest with you, to find hope. And I'm reminded over and over again of how powerful fear is in our lives, right? And how powerful fear is right now. As the author John Meccan puts it so abundantly, fear is the opposite of hope. And fear is directly the result of perceived harm. The social psychologist Kurt Gray says, contrary to popular belief, our ancient progenitors in Africa were not apex predators. We get that idea later. In fact, we were the ones being eaten. The hominid species all the way up and through the Neanderthals and the Homo sapiens. By the way, my major in college was anthropology, in case you didn't know. All of those folks were running scared for their lives. They hid in caves and they hid in the trees. Yeah, they had advantages. They could run, but they didn't go very fast on two legs. So we were the ones being eaten. And we've evolved great brain power, but that part of our evolutionary heritage, the perceived harm, the slight we take at the smallest thing, someone cutting us off in traffic, someone not giving us a good deal, that's become a national obsession. And we all see harm in different ways, and those who are progressive, like most of us here, see it as harm to other people, where others see it as harm to the people who are already here. So, for instance, in this cultural ideology in which we live now, progressives might see immigrants as victims, right? Conservatives would see them as potential criminals. We see trans queer people as owning their true identity. Others see them invading women's locker rooms. The sense of perceived harm is so ingrained in us that it leads to a sort of moral outrage. And that's where we get this feeling of moral abandonment. Friends, I'm here to tell you there is a way forward. I know that many of us are wondering whether this is the end of public moral life. And one of my beautiful, strong daughters said to me just last week, she said, "Dad, is this a series of sensationalist reality shows in some sort of Hobbesian universe?" I'm really glad I sent him to college. Hobbesian universe. No, I told her, we've been here before. And somehow we'll find our way again, although we don't know that way yet. But for you, my beloveds, I want to lay a way forward. I believe that there is a way forward. I believe it's rooted in trust. I believe it's rooted in finding joy, such as we find on a Sunday morning. I believe that we will overcome polarization with millions of other people, one soul at a time. As Adrienne Marie Brown said in her beautiful book, Emergent Strategy, what we give energy to grows. And she also said that we always will do better starting small. America has been this polarized before. I would point to, well, the Civil War. That's polarized. Of course, that had a geographic advantage, as someone pointed out to me the other day. We're here not so much, but red, blue states, purple states like Pennsylvania. The Civil Rights Movement came close, or perhaps Vietnam. The fact of the matter is, there's more purple than the media would like us to know, because that's not how they sell advertising slots. They sell it as one writer said, as conflict entrepreneurs. Love that phrase, conflict entrepreneurs. We vastly exaggerate how much the other side hates us, by the way, just in case you're curious, us liberals. It might be human nature to disparage an outgroup, to think that the other side is stupid. And I know some of you thought this. I know I've thought it. Or evil. But we hugely disparage at our own risk. Because the fact of the matter is, by some studies, 2/3 of this country, 67% of Americans are what one author called part of the exhausted majority. Can you hear me? Who feels like the exhausted majority? And these 222 million people don't want to fight about politics or even think about politics, compared with the remaining 33% who are very politically engaged and who are loud. And that's on both sides, although we hear more from one side than the other right now. And here's the thing. The exhausted majority just wants government to get things done, right? And they want an economy where people can flourish, and we want to be out there helping the world, not setting it on fire. And the fact of the matter is that people who seem that are not like us are facing the same realities we're facing. Fear of the future, trying to keep their jobs, pay the bills, raise families, live into our best selves. One pundit said the other day, what actually may bring this administration down is not any of the things we're doing, but the price of eggs. Maybe. And I realize that many of us want this to civilly end, civility to be re-engaged in the public square. But we may have to wait on that. Because many of you have told me quite pointedly, as you should, we got to do something, John. What are we doing? We got to do something. What are we doing? So we're doing something. We have started to do something. The fact that you're here on a Sunday morning or watching us online, you are joining a communication and a community that is trying to communicate joy. Why joy? Because joy is what we all need right now. Can I get an amen? Amen. We're joining the New Sanctuary movement, friends. This is a group that's working with immigrants, both to put them in safe places as well as to advocate for them, to go down to Center City and go to court and just sit there and be a presence. We're working with Interfaith Power and Light, who was the recipient of the offering today, and other environmental groups to provide energy to heal the earth. And we're stepping out our plans to those who are unhoused, not just providing them with shelter, but working on the systemic problems of homelessness. We have a safety team. Many of you don't know this. We have a safety team that's drawing up a comprehensive plan of how we can stay safe in this place. What do we do if someone disruptive walks through the door? How are we going to deal with that problem? This is more than fire drills, friends. This is pretty important. All the way down to how we'll deal with ICE if they come knocking on our door someday. We have a new action table. In addition to all the wonderful tables out there, there's one at the end called the action table. You can go there, you can find out something you can do individually, but more important, we're starting to gather the strength together to do things as a congregation. I and some of your leaders were at an event yesterday down in Wilmington, Delaware, a UU event, on how we strategize and help ourselves get the strength we need for the work ahead. I'm a great fan of the organization Indivisible. I think we should start a chapter here at MLUC. It's time. And we need your support now more than ever. It's the second week of our annual operating fund drive. You didn't think I'd forget about that, did you? And we've had some amazing success in that first week. $325,000 towards our goal of $750,000. 1 week. Friends, I don't care whether you're a member, friend, curious. Can you help us by making a pledge for the next year? 100% participation has always been my goal. This congregation, which is a cradle of so much hope in a world that seems so bereft of hope, is trying to change the world one community at a time. And it turns out that trust can be reimagined, and I believe that we will have to reimagine how we work and live in the world. I've said this before, but we are living in a time of hope and rage. Hope and rage. The rage is what elected Donald Trump. People, ordinary, hardworking people, at the mercy of an oligarchy that's right out front now, that's monetized every part of our lives, from the cost of eggs to the right to health care. And these ordinary people are not evil people. We've got to get that out of our heads. They're people trying to find an answer. And that's where religion comes in, because we're that third place between a family and a political body. We're the third place where you can reimagine something more beautiful than what exists now, and you can act on that imagination. And maybe that acting is as simple as singing on a Sunday morning, and maybe that acting is reaching out to someone that you've never met yet. Because the importance of imagination, said the scholar Stephen Esma, is that we have a power in it. A power to construct realities that could be, as in the America that could be. It helps us envision an alternate reality where justice does exist, and we dream of our ideals, because if we don't dream of our ideals, we are lost in the quagmire of despair. Now, humankind has forever been coping with crises. Societies are always coping with crises, and they'll do that, as Faulkner said, to the last red and dying evening. But we need to remember that the darkness of our history has been overcoming our past. And I'm thinking of the racism of the 1920s, the destitution of the 1930s, the wars of the 20th century into our own century, and the barbarous treatment of humanity, especially the most vulnerable: children, women, queer people, the poor, refugees, and especially people of color. We need to face the fact that racism exists in this country, it exists in our society, it exists among us here. And we will be revolted by that, and that's good, because that's how we get to redemption. Revulsion, then redemption. And I think of the great John Lewis, of blessed memory, when he was beaten at the Edmund Pettus Bridge in Selma when they tried to cross it the first time. He said, in the final analysis, we are one people, the family, one house, not just the black and white house or the house of the South. We're the house of America. We're playing the long game, friends, in case you haven't noticed. And now I think this congregation is becoming, and I love this phrase, an island of coherence. Because here we can put it together, sort of, right? When a complex system is far from equilibrium, there are always small islands of concurrence, of coherence, that arise in a sea of chaos. This is a physical and chemical fact. It's also a social and cultural fact. We are that island of coherence in which we try to make some sense of the world. And there's more we can do. And I've read some of the things that have been posted recently by you all and others who say, we've got to fight now. We're going to lose our chance. The world's coming to an end if we don't do something now. Friends, I don't believe we can fling ourselves into the Leviathan and come back as anything other than emptied out. I believe we need a prolonged, as the poet Shannon Willis put it, a prolonged soft resistance. Soft resistance. The mycelial strategy of weaving beneath the surface, unsettling rigid structures with slow and, as she said, persistent entanglement. It does not meet violence with mirrored fists, but with supple intelligence, like a willow bending just enough to redirect the force and send it spiraling elsewhere. A soft rebellion is the way water carves stone. Not through brute force, but through patient insistence, through the intimate knowledge of the cracks, and through the whispers of time. We can still believe in freedom. We can trust in freedom, whether it's from the tyranny of our politicians to the tyranny of ourselves. Freedom from reactionary ideologies to freedom from the bathroom scale. All kinds of freedoms. Not long ago, I was talking with a friend about an idea of what America could be. As an African American, he said, I don't see much hope here. And honestly, I had to agree with him. In the short term, I don't think there is a lot of hope. Or as I'll talk more about soon, at best, it's a pessimistic hope. But as I walked to my car, it struck me that we have to believe there's a way forward or there's no hope for hope, right? And I'm reminded of the black feminist scholar Monica Coleman, who put it this way. She said, and this is an African-American phrase you will often hear, particularly from women, we need to make a way out of no way. We need to make a way out of no way. Friends, if you've been wondering what it means to be a Unitarian Universalist, this is it. To make a way out of no way. To hold up the dignity of other people. And we're not truly free, as it's always been said, until all of us are free. And David Brooks put it this way, he said, unity can come only from a common dedication to the experiment of American consciousness. The Jeremiads, the speeches, the songs, the conversations, they're all part of the experiment. The craziness that's happening in Washington, D.C. is part of the experiment. Walt Whitman, always whimsical and always a contradiction, as he himself said, once said that the full flowering of life comes when we embrace the possibility. He said, we need to become life's gymnasium. We need to become freedom's athletes, strong and equal women, courageous men, deep-souled people capable of changing the world one soul at a time. In other words, friends, to trust in America again will take all of us. For as we trust each other, as we trust our neighbors, so we trust our country to become someday, an America that is truly great. And that's my dream, and I invite you to join with me in it and forge your own dream, and together we'll dream a dream. That's the hope. That's the beginning, and the time is now. So may it be, and amen. David will announce our closing hymn.
A number of years ago, I was serving on the Pennsylvania State Democratic Committee as a committee person, and we had gathered for our annual endorsement meeting, probably 400 people, 400 committee people in the room, not to mention the campaign teams and media personnel. And they were trying something new that year. We began the meeting with the Star-Spangled Banner, and it was a surge of patriotism, trying to not allow the other side to co-opt patriotism. And then they started to play another song. And of the 400 or so people in the room, maybe 10 to 15 of the Black Committee people stood up, and kind of sheepishly in turn, the rest of the 400 followed suit. And the song that was played was Lift Every Voice and Sing. And I'm not sure I'd even heard the song before. So I started kind of humming along and maybe improvising a descant. It was a very anemic performance with so few people in the room singing this beautiful song. And when the song was over and we sat down, a good friend of mine, probably mid-60s, Black woman, Delaware County committee person, which is my home county, takes my arm, looks me in the eyes and says, "You have to learn this song. You're a musician. People will listen to you when you sing. Teach it to everyone you know so that this never happens again." So I encourage you all to rise in body and spirit as we sing hymn number 149, one of our national anthems. Lift every voice and sing.
From the words of the great universalist John Murray, go out on the highways and byways and give people something of your new vision. You may possess a small light, but uncover it and let it shine. Use it in order to bring more light and understanding to the hearts and minds of women and men, and give them not hell, but hope and courage. Preach the kindness and the everlasting love of God. For now the service truly begins. Please be seated for the prelude.
So I am moving with my heart, so I am leaving with a drum. I sing to you all day long with affection and joy. So I am leaving with a drum, with affection and emotion.